are steps being taken by the court during the jury trial to ensure that jurors are not influenced by anything happening around the courthouse. So then we start getting into what we have now with individual members or individuals coming into the courtroom. I will say that is directly in response, Mr. Goff, to statements you made, which I find reprehensible. The Colonel Sanders statement you made last week, I would suggest maybe something that has influenced what is going on here. In response to that, and to his credit, Mr. Sheffield made some comments, but did say, come one, come all. And so now the court is faced with balancing.
Thanks for hitting that like button. Thanks for hitting that like button.
As well as what I'm trying to put out there is a fair trial.
Come on in. And for the few that have hit the like button, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome.
Have an impact on a lot of what's going on. And so my measured response at this point is to balance all of that out and try to move forward with the trial. I'm not granting a mistrial at this point based on these arguments that are being made, because I think I'm not granting a mistrial at this point based on the arguments that are being made. With the witness.
Guys, I wanted to come in and talk about some of this stuff. I have been so tired. I've been so tired. I've been wanting to come on, but I have been tired. Y'all see how I'm propped up tonight. So, but I still wanted to come on and discuss some of the shenanigans that have been going on. And hopefully you guys have been paying attention. Valerie, hey, how you doing, lady? Hopefully you guys are paying or have been paying attention to what's going on, because ultimately everything is relevant right now. Everything is relevant. It gives a bit more insight into how certain systems work. So I just wanted to discuss some things that I am seeing, because it is all relevant. The buffale is real out here in these streets. It's definitely real in these streets. So we're going to see if a few more come in. Again, I didn't do a live check. I stopped doing live checks a while ago. I feel like the people that want to see it now, they'll see it now. And if someone wants to watch it later, then they are more than welcome to go and watch it later if there's something else going on at this time. I apologize for not dropping in last week. I've been trying to come on at least once a week. But for those of you that are on here, I'm building a house right now. So that's what my focus is at right now, trying to get my mess done so I can, do what I need to do. So that's where my focus is at right now. Putting on a hard hat and trying to make sure, my stuff gets done in a timely manner. So that's what's been going on with that. As far as this court stuff, I know a lot of people like to believe that the attorneys, all the attorneys have the judges wrapped around their fingers, and a lot of people don't realize the impact that an improper defense can have when it comes to someone that's on trial. Or it may be a proper defense, but things can happen in the process that defense attorneys can do that makes it harder on their client. And there's really nothing the client can do about it unless they're trying to get a new attorney in the midst of it all. I want to give you guys a couple examples, because I want you to see, one of the things I always tell people, you can piss off a lot of people. Don't piss off the judge. Okay? Like, you go after whoever you want to go after. Don't piss off the judge. Leave the judge alone. Feel however you want to feel. Leave the judge alone. The judge should be off limits at all times, because people don't realize that ultimately you don't just have, what the jury thinks. You still have to be concerned about what that judge has going on and what they will and won't allow. So I want to give an example, a few examples today of some things that I saw. And I don't know if you guys have seen it, but with the trial involving Travis McMichael and the son, the dad, and old Roddy, the ones that were involved in the death of Ahmaud Arbery. So I'm doing this because for those that are interested in the other case, I really want people to get an understanding of how some of these things work in the courtroom, and how some things that attorneys say doesn't necessarily work out good for their clients. So I want to play this first little clip for you guys and show you, because this has happened on several occasions where the defense attorney basically pissed the judge off, and he wasn't there for it.
Trial to ensure that jurors are not influenced by anything happening around the courthouse. So then we start getting into what we have now with individual members or individuals coming into the courtroom. I will say that is directly
Vonda, hey, how you doing?
To statements you made, which I find reprehensible. The Colonel Sanders statement you made last week, I would suggest maybe something that has influenced what is going on here. In response to that, and to his credit, Mr. Sheffield made some comments, but did say, come one, come all. And so now the court is faced with balancing a lot of things going on outside this courtroom and doing it in a way that respects members of the public's right to be in the courtroom, as well as what I'm trying to put out there is a fair trial, right? So you need to understand, everybody, that your words in this courtroom have an impact on a lot of what's going on. And so my measured response at this point is to balance all of that out and try to move forward with the trial. I'm not granting a mistrial at this point based on these arguments that are being made, because I think I'm not granting a mistrial at this point based on the arguments that have been made. Are we ready with the witness?
Period. Okay, so one of the first things that they had going on is it was a few things going on. So when the jury was selected, the defense basically, they weeded out all of the potential black jurors. So they were left with one black juror for the Ahmaud Arbery trial. Okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing with that, and that I really want people to consider, because in any case, people tend to want people that look like them, people that they assume are going to think like them. That's not always necessarily the case. So by them weeding out all of these black people and just having one black person left, that still doesn't mean that they're not going to find these men guilty. Like, it's wishful thinking, but everybody doesn't think the same way. Everybody's not on the same page. The second thing is the judge did acknowledge that the defense was really being discriminatory in the way that they were selecting the jury. But on his end, based on Georgia law, there was only so much he could do. But he wanted to make sure that it went on record that he acknowledged that they were participating in some discriminatory practices whenever it came to them selecting a jury for this case. So that was one thing. The second thing that he was addressing in here was a comment, and I'm going to go back and show this comment. But the attorney for Mr. Roddy was the one that was actually driving the truck that was blocking Ahmaud in, and basically he would be the one that was considered the kidnapper. of a mob because he kept blocking him in wherever he was going and following him with the truck. So his attorney, let me tell you, this guy, I'm sorry. This guy so racist, he can't contain himself in the courtroom. Like, the judge has literally had to dig in his tail so many times in the courtroom. But he made it a point to say, he was the one, if you saw on the news, that said they don't want, or he doesn't want any more black pastors in the courtroom. That was this guy. He got upset because Reverend Jesse Jackson showed up in the courtroom one week, and then he got mad because old Pastor Al Sharpton showed up in the courtroom, and the attorney went to the judge, and he feels like these pastors are showing up to intentionally taint the jury. That's what he's saying. Dimitri, hey, how you doing? He said that they're showing up to intentionally paint the jury to make sure that, you know, the jury is looking at them, and let me tell you something. Oh, and he actually came out and said, you know, we don't want any more pastors in here. How many pastors does a mod have? Let me tell you something. When something happens in this community, you got way more than one pastor. I'm going to tell you that. Hey, they all coming out if they can. But the mere fact, and he said, who's the next person that's going to be coming out? And I forgot the guy's name, but the guy was running for some political seat last year, I believe. I missed another black pastor. But he was like, who's going to be next? Is he coming out? And he basically said, like, y'all are trying to sway the jury in one direction by having pastors come in this church for the family. I'm sitting up here like, that lets me know that you straight full of hell. And them pastors scaring the mess out of you. You full of hell. And them pastors scaring the mess out of you. And you want them up and out of that courtroom with the quickness. You are not worried about a jury being tainted. You are not worried about the number of pastors that were coming in. As a matter of fact, he even admitted, excuse me, he even admitted in the courtroom that he didn't even know that Reverend Al Sharpton was in there until it was over and someone told him that he was in there in the back with a mask on. So he didn't even know that he was in there. So he was commenting after the fact. Judge was not having it. So him and one of the other attorneys, they've just been kind of coming at the judge real slick. So he basically had to tell them, like, we're going to be fair in this courtroom, and you're not going to come up in here with this buffale and think that you're going to bring that old mess up in here and it's just going to fly. Like, that's not what we're doing. He said he's going to make sure that this case in his courtroom remains a fair trial. He's not going to come and let them taint that. So I was trying to find the one from today. So the first thing that he told the attorney was his behaviors and his comments, because there was some comment made about Colonel Sanders. First, I'm going to need y'all to get out of the belief that all black people love fried chicken, because we don't. I'm just going to say that. But he made a comment about Colonel Sanders, and the judge didn't take to, he didn't fancy that comment. So he came back and approached that. But I really need to find the one from today where the attorney tried the judge and tried to get the judge to go back over something that he said earlier. And he challenged the judge, and the judge was basically like, what? What you saying? And the guy kind of got quiet. Nothing. He was like, no, you said something. What you saying? Like, the judge was like, what's up? What you want to do? The judge was like, this is my courtroom. What's up? So, man, where's the one at from today? This is nobody ever leaves. This is the actual video from Al Sharpton responding. Okay, here's one. The judge was talking to the attorney. The attorney was trying to get the pastors out of the courtroom. He didn't want Jesse Jackson in the courtroom. I don't know if you think Jesse Jackson is God or what, but he didn't want him in the courtroom. So he said something to the judge, and I'm going to let y'all see how the judge responded to it. He is not playing with these people.
At this point, I'm not exactly sure what you're doing. I have already ruled on this court's position with regard to the gallery. And with all candor, I was not even aware that Reverend Jackson was in the courtroom until you started your motion. I have indicated the court's position. The court's position hasn't changed. At this point, it's almost as if you're just trying to continue this
Buffale
for purposes other than just bringing it to the court's attention. And I find that objectionable from the court standpoint. I have said over and over and over in this trial that I am attempting to ensure that in this courtroom that the defendants receive a fair trial. And I will continue to do that. I have heard the objection. I have ruled previously on my position with regard to the gallery, and that is unchanged.
And I'm not questioning the court's ruling, but the court,
I'm done talking about it, Mr. Goff. I've heard the motion. I understand what your position is, and if it's simply just to point out that an individual is in the gallery, it has been done.
do I understand that I'm not to do that again?
I'm telling you that the court's position has remained the court's position, and unless anyone in the gallery is disruptive or here to cause some demonstration that will distract from the presentation of evidence in this case, the court is not going to single out any particular individual or group of individual as not being allowed to be in this courtroom as a member of the public. That is consistent with my prior ruling and will remain the ruling of the court. If there's a disruption, you're more than welcome to call that to my attention. If there's a problem, call that to my attention. But on this particular issue that you brought up previously, which has now been effectively renewed, I think I've been very clear we do not need to discuss it any further.
And I've been very clear my desire to make a record. And thank you, Your Honor.
Is the state ready to proceed?
See, this is where your attorney can basically F you up, okay? If the judge says to leave something alone, the man wanted old Revy Rev removed from the gallery. He did not want him in the courtroom because he was a black pastor. The judge was like, are you freaking serious? I already told you no one time, and now you got the audacity to bring it up again after I already told you how I felt about it the first time. And here you go with this BS again. This is when the attorney starts hurting the client. Now, I don't know what Mr. Roddy was sitting over there thinking whenever his attorney was saying whatever he was saying. I know what I would have been thinking. If you don't sit your tail down somewhere before you create a bigger problem for us, see, that would have been my thought. But hey, the judge said I will not remove Jesse Jackson. We ain't having it. Jesse ain't bothering nobody. He ain't bothering nobody. He trying to console the family and do like everybody else. So I'm trying to find this one that actually happened today. First, let me let you guys actually hear what he said about the black pastors, just in case y'all missed it. Let me let y'all hear this here.
My understanding while I was cross-examining Investigator Lowry yesterday is that the Right Reverend Al Sharpton managed to find his way into the back of the courtroom. I'm guessing he was somehow there at the invitation of the victim's family in this case. And I have nothing personally against Mr. Sharpton. My concern is that it's one thing for the family to be present. It's another thing to ask for the lawyers to be present. But if we're going to start a precedent, starting yesterday, we're going to bring high-profile members of the African-American community into the courtroom to sit with the family during the trial in the presence of the jury, I believe that's intimidating, and it's an attempt to pressure.
Hold on.
Consciously or...
Y'all tell me, who are the pastors intimidating? They didn't come in there throwing Bibles at nobody. They didn't come in there with the daily breads throwing them at people. Who did the pastor come in there to intimidate? Who is intimidated by the pastors? One pastor. Let me continue.
Consciously, an attempt to pressure or influence the jury. Obviously, there's only so many pastors they can have. And if their pastor's Al Sharpton right now, that's fine. But then that's it. We don't want any more black pastors coming in here.
Oh!
Or other Jesse Jackson, whoever was in.
Look at that judge. Look at that judge.
Sitting with the victim's family, trying to influence a jury in this case.
Hold on. I'ma stop. Look at that judge. He said, no, this mofo did. Let me rewind this back on this judge reaction. Hold on.
The victim's family.
Hold on.
Or other Jesse Jackson, whoever was in here. Or other Jesse Jackson, whoever was in here.
Look at him.
Sitting with the victim's family, trying to influence a jury in this case.
Whole face done turned red. Look at him.
My concern about bringing people in who really don't have any ties to this case other than political interests. We want to keep politics out of this case.
Well, I will tell you that I noticed him once and that was it. And the fact that nobody else even noticed that he was in here means that everybody complied with this court's rulings on sitting in this courtroom and listening to the evidence. I don't hear emotion, and I will tell you this, I'm not going to blanketly exclude members of the public from this courtroom.
That was the first time the judge addressed it. The lawyer came back again. That's why the judge had to come back and address it a second time. Like, didn't you hear what I said the first time when I said I wasn't going to exclude anybody from the courtroom when you tried to get me to get Jesse Jackson up out of here? And now you trying to get Al Sharpton up out of here? Y'all are fighting a case where people are saying that what you did was racially motivated. And you gonna sit in here and straight say that you don't want any more black pastors in here? So my question is, if Joel Osteen came and supported the family and sat in the back, would it be okay? Would it be okay if Peter Popoff, if Peter Popoff came and bought some water, some of his healing water in there, would it be okay? Or is it? Let me move on. Let me move on. That man said no more black pastors in the courtroom. You hear me? No more black pastors in the courtroom. This guy, see if I can find this. Okay, now I'm going to show you what old Al said.
Well, I think that it is an arrogant display of insensitivity that you are going to be sitting there with 3 men that murdered the mother and father's child and their families of those 3 that have been indicted for murder. Yeah. And now tell them they can't have the ministers of their choice to sit there and console them while they're sitting there looking at who murdered their son and their families. So now you not only have taken their son, you want to take those of us that would come and console them. Now clearly, as the judge responded, it was directed at me, because how do they know the difference between a black pastor or not? I think that clearly, because I was in the courtroom yesterday in Brunswick, Georgia, and they think that because some of the jurors looked out and appeared to recognize me, that would influence or intimidate the jury. The parents said publicly they invited me to come. They came to church to hear me preach 3 weeks ago in Georgia. I've been with them from the beginning. They have the right to be consoled by anyone. We were not being disruptive, as the judge said. But the audacity, the arrogance to say that not only are you going to have to sit there and look at your son's killers every day and their families, we're going to choose who can come and console you in the courtroom. It's like pouring salt in the wound.
Will you continue
Oh,
to
I'll
support
be
it?
back. The parents invited me, as they said yesterday, and they said yesterday they want me to come again, and I will make it my business to come again.
Absolutely. I can't believe things even like that even said in a courtroom.
I've been through a lot of trials over the decades. I've never had a lawyer ask that I not be able to come in the courtroom.
What type of mess is that? You don't want the pastor. You don't want the pastors in the courtroom. I'm trying to find the one from today. I know one of the things that happened. Where's this at? Right, Jones. I promise you, it's deep. It's deep. Did he get him on this one too? Hold on.
Told he was going in there repeatedly, and break-ins was used, burglaries was used for the neighborhood throughout. Solid
That's a
ground.
big sustain because that's Mr. McMichael's statement, and he's already testified that he did not follow up on that. So it's sustained.
Okay. You did not follow up to try to determine if a burglary had been committed at 220?
Objection. Once again, formal question, on what day?
He's already testified to what he did, and you've asked him, it was either you or
Why I'm
Mr.
so confused. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm following.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please take a step outside.
He about to get him. He about to get him. Can y'all step outside, please, so I can rip these people a new one?
Mr. Sheffield, you can agree or disagree with this court. That is your prerogative. But to act in the way that you just did in front of this panel, disrespect, I don't care whether you like my rulings or not, or you like me or not, but in this court, the Superior Court, it is axiomatic that counsel show at least respect for what the court is doing. And what you just did shows a lack of respect for what the court is trying to do here, which is create an environment which is fair to all parties. I would suggest that you take a moment to think about that. I'm going to step off the bench because I found that, I'll just call it rude. All right? I have tolerated a number of things in the courtroom, including, flip charts, writing in the middle of, the jury gets distracted when you were doing the flip charts here, jumping up and moving the boards. I would suggest that you temper some of that very quickly because it will not be tolerated in this court. And I will leave it at that. I do not need an explanation. I do not need an apology, none of that. But I would suggest that we take a moment and think about the way that you're reacting to the court's instructions and rulings. We're in recess. Thank you.
This is one of the defense attorneys that he is talking to. What he did was basically put him in a timeout. He put him in a timeout. This judge is not playing with them with this trial. Now, Georgia got a lot of stuff going on, and I don't know what kind of scrutiny this man is under, but he is not playing with these people when it comes to this trial. I'm trying to find the one. I want the one from today. So the attorneys moved for a mistrial based on the fact that they're trying to say that, the jury has been tainted. I really need this one from the judge today. So this judge is making his own mark right now because let's see. Here it is. So again, the defense attorney tried to make some kind of slick remark today, like he wanted the judge to go back and explain something that he said. And I just want you to watch the judge's expression. You just watch it for yourself.
All right, anything from the state before we recess?
Your judge.
From Travis, you said that with some trepidation. Where that was going. Anything from Travis McMichael?
No, Your Honor.
From Greg McMichael?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Brown?
Your Honor, for the record, I had hoped to hear something back from the court after the remarks made this morning.
Hope to hear something back from the court on what?
It's all right, Your Honor. I have nothing further at this time.
I'm confused. What are you waiting for, Mr. Goff?
I was expecting the court to address the remarks the court made this morning. Obviously, I was mistaken. I stand corrected, Your Honor. I have nothing else today.
We're in recess.
That was Mr. Roddy's attorney. He keeps trying to come at this judge. Listen, you are not doing your client any favors when you keep coming at the judge sideways. This is not doing your client any type of favors. Judge denies mistrial first to reprehensible comments by the lawyer. Judge admonishes defense attorney during trial. The judge actually acknowledged intentional discrimination. The judge actually stepped off the bench at one point.
Going now to some tense moments in Glynn County when the judge stepped off the bench during the murder trial over the death of Ahmaud Arbery. Judge Timothy Walmsley left the bench yesterday. He said the attorney for Travis McMichael showed a lack of respect for what the court was trying to do. This came after the judge sustained back-to-back objections to the line of questioning in an attempt to be what he called fair. After a recess, more witnesses took to the stand to testify about what they saw the day that Arbery was shot and killed. Court will resume this morning at 9 o'clock.
Thought they were going to show it. So this is what's been going on with this trial. And I know people are focused on a lot of other things, but I think that it is important because there was a loss of life in this particular case. I hope that people don't have tunnel vision and just focus on one thing, because there are some very important things going on right now. This case being one of them, because this was one of the things that also helped set the precedence for all of the things that transpired, within the last year or two, with all of these movements that came about. You have these 3 men that are on trial for murdering this young man. No reason at all. None at all. And we're watching things play out right now. I think one of the biggest things at this point is they're really trying to play into the jury and get the jury in this mindset, like, you know, oh, these, I don't want to say it that way. Like the pastors coming in are evil. Don't mind the pastors that are coming in. Just overlook that. I really hope, and I know that, we just got a few people in here tonight, but I hope that people, realize that we have more than one thing going on right now, and we can definitely multitask. And this trial at this point is, I mean, it's important. There's a lot going on right now. This trial is just as important as the George Floyd trial. And it's certain things that we really need to be paying attention to. Number one, it gives you a better understanding of how these systems work. You get to see things that work and things that don't work, things that make sense and things that don't make sense. What you also get to see is you don't have all this interference by all of these outside forces that are getting in the way of the attorneys or the judges and the witnesses that they're going to be calling. You don't have all these outside forces like from social media interjecting themselves in the cases. You can see now they have enough going on. They don't need any more people interjecting their stuff and sending them a bunch of stuff and trying to get them to come on so they can get a couple hundred or maybe 1,000 or so views or whatever. These people are really like, they're fighting for their client. And even though they're coming up here right now looking a fool, they're doing their job. They're fighting for their client. Now, is that going to work in their favor with the judge or the jury? I think not. I think, though, even though they may have picked a predominantly white jury, I don't think that jury is going to go along with, because you're still in the South and you got people in the South that, respect pastors and preachers and elders and bishops and things of that sort. So him saying that he didn't want the pastors in the church, I don't think that's going to work in his favor. I don't think that's going to work in his favor. It clearly didn't work in his favor with the judge. So, just one thing I really wanted people to look at, and I stated it before, like, it's really important for us to watch these other cases and how these cases play out. Really get to see how the system looks, not just from the standpoint of somebody that you want, to get off. You really have to see how the defense works. You really need to look and study how the prosecution works, so you'll really get a better understanding of the process versus just going off what people say, what vloggers say, what we get on here and say. You get a better understanding by watching these things yourself. When you see the judge call sidebars, because one actually happened in one of these videos, you'll see that judges actually do call sidebars, depending on what the situations are. A lot of times it's because he doesn't or she doesn't agree with how something was done. He or she may want some clarification on something that was done. Maybe something was put out there that wasn't discussed in the beginning, so they want to pull them to the side. Look, where are you going with this before we go any further? I need you to give me an explanation. So it's a lot of different things, but in this particular case, I think it's important, it's imperative for us to really watch what is going on, because you have a lot in different cases. You have a lot of upcoming cases. You have appeals that are coming up. And even going back to the George Floyd case, you got folks trying to do appeals and stuff. So it would behoove people to go and watch all of these cases so that they can see how these things work. So whenever they're seeing it in another case, they have a better understanding of what's going on versus just listening to what certain folks say and the information may not be correct. I hope that makes sense. So I'm all about making sure people get the right information and a better understanding. So I think it's important to look at these other things. And it is important for us to remember that justice is not just us. Justice applies to everybody. I know a lot of people don't like when I say that, but it is what it is. Those are facts. Everybody is entitled to justice. However that looks, everybody's entitled to it. And I'm hoping that people get to the point where that justice isn't just, I'm going to say it isn't selective, that people believe that all people are entitled to it. So, it's good to support one case and what's going on in one case, but let's not forget we have people that aren't celebrities out here. We got everyday Joes, we got everyday Marys, we got everyday Johns. You know what I'm saying? We got all these different people that are going through different things, and they need people's support too. They need people's support as well. They need people writing petitions. They need petitions. They need people going out and demonstrating and going to legislators and whoever and talking to them. We got to remember it's not just about celebrities and the big folks. We got to remember the everyday folks, because these everyday folks are the ones that we deal with every day. These are family members. These are friends, our spouses, our loved ones, whatever the case may be, coworkers. These are the people that are out here every day and they're dealing with this stuff, and they don't have celebrity money to go out and get, a team of attorneys or, all these fancy people to come in that have big names. They don't have that money. So I'm hoping that this will encourage people to, broaden your horizon. If you say that you're about the justice of black men, then just don't let it be about one black man. If you say that you're about justice in general, then it shouldn't matter if the man is black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Pacific Islander. Like, it shouldn't matter. Like, if we're about that justice life, then we're about this justice life. And that's where I am. So I wanted to bring you guys this information tonight. Again, we don't have a big crowd. People can go back and watch the replay. But I really wanted y'all to see that everything is not clear cut. Like, not everybody. A lot of people think that all the judges are bad and they're all doing this. No, you have some judges that want to make sure that stuff runs in a fair, consistent manner in their courtroom. Everybody's not about the buffet. Everybody's not about that. Everybody, they don't want people to come and take over their courtroom and try to make a mockery of their courtroom. A lot of people take that seriously. So, with that being said, I didn't get a lot of feedback from you guys tonight, but I appreciate you tuning in. I see one Carolina Diamond here, Demetrius, so shout out to you. Our Carolina Dime that is in here. Shout out to the people that came, dropped by. You may have left, but shout out to you. Thank you for the ones that are still in here. But I just encourage you, go watch the trials and see, what's going on. Ahmad's trial, it's not his trial, but Ahmad's trial has been going on for a while. So it's good to see the testimonies and what the expert witnesses and stuff are saying. See, this is something that you didn't get to see in the other case that everybody, was looking at. You didn't get to see all this because from the defense side, they didn't call anybody really. So you get to see how this is actually supposed to work when both sides are calling people in that can give some type of information that could possibly influence the jury. It makes a difference. So, with that being said, I thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you got something out of this. For me, it's all about education. It's not about the drama. So hopefully you got something out of this that'll make you want to go in and dig a little bit deeper and see what's going on. And guys, I'm going to get on up out of here. But before I do, I want you to remember this one thing. If you don't remember nothing else, mind your business. Mind your business. Probably at the end of all this, I told you guys that I've been off the scene a little bit because I've been working on getting a house built down here. So while I have that going on, it's going to be kind of hit or miss. But I'm looking forward to it, and I'll let you guys see. I might let you guys see some of the progress as we go along. If that's something that you guys are interested in seeing, drop that in the comments, and we'll do that. But I'm going to get my gluteus maximus up off here. If you have not hit that like button, people, please hit that like button one time. Hit that like button. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. As y'all can see, my sleep medicine is starting to kick in. So I got to get out here before I start telling my business, okay? So with that being said, I will see you guys next time. Thank you for tuning in. And again, don't forget to mind the business. Good night, y'all.